Welcome to another biblically based look into today's news from Christian Voice New Zealand. Now here's Mike Bain.
A central claim to the gay rights movement, a claim that won the movement acceptance with most of the Western world, was that being gay is part of who a person is and not a choice. Let me put it another way. They believe that they were born this way. But the idea of immutable sexual identity inevitably extended to other orientations and self-expressions. And any attempts to suppress or change orientation or even behaviour has been labelled conversion therapy. Now that sexual orientation has been accepted as identity, anything labelled conversion therapy, well, it's just been outlawed. The New Zealand Christian Network National Director, Stuart Lang, confirmed their experiences with the conversion practices prohibition legislation had been far from ideal. He said because such legislation was a Labour Party election manifesto policy, and because this government had such a huge majority, Lang labelled the select committee process as something of a farce. Well, despite the thousands of submissions made critiquing obvious biases and deficiencies in the bill, and even suggesting constructive improvements, this select committee stonewalled them all, and back in the debating chamber, sad to say, so did the majority of MPs. So, today we have parents, schools, counsellors and churches who are now trying to work out how to interpret and apply this new law. The new law passed bans conversion therapy and defines it as anything intended to change or suppress the individual's sexual orientation, gender identity or gender expression. Well, where to now, I hear you ask? Well, the next stage of this rapid worldwide revelation is that all kinds of identities, also based on desires and feelings, are being treated as if they're unchangeable. And if a desire is unchangeable, the reasoning goes, a person has a right to act on it. Well, this logic has been applied to most desires imaginable until now. I'm not sure if we've gone past the slippery slope, but it isn't hard to imagine the slippery slope here now has extra kilometres added to it. So if society maintains the logic that desires determined identity and therefore justify behaviours, then more deviant behaviours will eventually become acceptable. You know, we only have to look to the USA to see what the next thing is on the agenda, and all I can say is buckle up your seatbelt, because this slide is about to go into overdrive. In January, the magazine USA Today ran an article by Alia Destager titled "The Complicated Research Behind Pedophilia." The article summarised the growing consensus among the psychologists that paedophiles too are born this way, and their attraction to children is unchangeable. Understandably, Destager doesn't call paedophilia a sexual orientation, but rather attraction. She argues that even if paedophilia is an unchangeable attraction caused by genetic or environmental factors, paedophilias can and must control their impulses. But the experts she quotes in her article agree. People who are sexually attracted to kids have a choice whether to act on the urge to abuse. One psychologist said that acting on paedophilia is the same as the choice to act on any other inappropriate sexual thought. And as she puts it, paedophilias or paedophiles may not have control over the fact that they are attracted to kids, but they are responsible for whether they do or they don't act on it. The language sounds an awful lot like the kind that's been labelled conversion therapy, or as New Zealand law puts it, an attempt to repress or reduce non-heterosexual attraction or sexual behaviour. Hey look, don't misunderstand me. Paedophilia and homosexuality are not the same. As much as we critique consent as the only moral stand our culture will take, it applies here. A minor isn't developed enough to give consent. Still, the logic could be argued the same in both cases. It should also be noted that even as paedophilia is being reconsidered in orientation, minors have been given more control over their sexual identities. If they can determine their sexual identification at younger and younger ages, how long will we be able to prevent them from determining their sexual activities, including with adults? Even so, the fact that social scientists and the media can avoid the logical conclusion of born this way for this instance shows how flawed that logic always was. Desires don't determine behaviour or identity. They never did, because as human beings, we are moral agents responsible for controlling our appetites. This slope just really is slippery. But I'm grateful that we have some in our Christian culture who understand that God created man and woman for the purpose of procreation, and God sees a departure from this as an abomination. Look, I know you look at this world with despair, but keep in mind this world is under the influence of Satan the devil. Hey, look, we all accept this is his world. This is his undertaking to confuse and destroy mankind and the laws that God put in place. But Jesus called us to be the salt in our culture. Churches and many Christian organisations like the New Zealand Christian Network that we mentioned and others are being the salt in order to influence the world. He also called us to be the light, which means those who are seeking refuge from their lifestyles that we've discussed, we must be the light which attracts them. We must be the light to welcome them and without judgment assist them to resolve their conflicts. Just in the days of Abraham, when he and God discussed the future of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham pleaded for the righteous of the cities to be saved. Well, we should continue to pray for those who are afflicted with and confused by those regarding their sexual orientation. We pray they seek the help to curb their desires. But above all, we must pray for the families, the schools, the counsellors and the churches. These are the people that are at the coalface, and that they remain willing to stand and assist when those afflicted become between desire and behaviour, or reach out for assistance. Last word, and I hope you agree. If the sexual revolution doesn't stop here, the consequences are quite simply unthinkable.
Thank you for watching. Help us to spread this message by sharing it within your own network. If you want to see more messages like this one, simply hit the subscribe button. For more information about our work, or if you're moved to donate the price of a cup of coffee, jump online to our website, christianvoicenewzealand.com.